A destructive scene on the University of Connecticut campus last night after their men's basketball team clinched the national championship. This as celebrations turned dangerous with people injured, property damage, and arrests. Western Mass News reporter Glenn Kittle joining us live in studio after he spoke with a local first responder about dealing with situations such as these. Glenn?
Chris, videos are circulating showing UConn fans flooding the streets, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. Today I spoke with Amherst Fire Chief Tim Nelson. He tells Western Mass News what precautions his department has taken to minimize damage and keep people safe during campus celebrations. Fans inside Gamble Pavilion stormed the court Monday night to celebrate the program's 5th NCAA men's basketball championship. However, outside the watch party, people could be seen lighting fires, tearing down light posts, and taking any bit of UConn signage they could get their hands on. These scenes similar to what happened in 2018 on the UMass Amherst campus after the NFL championship game, featuring the Patriots and Eagles, a post-game riot leading to injuries and arrests. Amherst Fire Chief Tim Nelson tells Western Mass News first responders have to plan for a celebration turning violent. He tells us communication with people celebrating is just as important as communication with medical personnel and law enforcement.
Have fun, enjoy it, but do it responsibly. So, and the other piece of this is for us. We'll add staff. Our partners will do the same thing. And
Nelson adds in his experience, barricades and a large first responder presence can create a more dangerous situation. Instead, Nelson says the best approach is for them to wait in the background and intervene if needed.
Folks that I think at times will think, well, geez, well, we need to approach or attack that show force. So what we've seen is that, we hanging in the background. In case something happens, you plan for the worst, you hope for the best.
Nelson says alcohol can be a factor in these types of situations. He tells us local hospital staff is also on standby to help with any medical emergencies.
Our local hospitals into the mix, saying, this is what we think will happen, and we're all prepared for the worst. And really, it's a team approach. As of right now, 15 people have been charged and 16 were taken to the hospital after last night's celebration in stores. Reporting live in the studio, Glenn Kittle, Western Mass News.